In this video, I'm going to show you the keys, reveal the secrets to becoming the kind of prepper that can overcome any obstacle. The reality is when a crazy situation happens, an SHTF situation happens, everything that you've thought and prepared could go out the window. As much as you've stored up, and you should be storing up, right? All those things you could lose. What you can't lose is your psychology, is your mindset. And if you develop the right mindset, you can go down to nothing and overcome all obstacles even yet again. I'm going to reveal the keys to developing that kind of mindset in this video coming up. Okay, guys, so when it comes to prepping, this can be you. You can be the kind of person that in a given situation, you have the right psychology. You're ready to overcome anything that can be thrown at you, right? And so let's talk about this. What is the psychology of prepping? Because mindset really does matter. And so check out this quote. A prepared mind is as vital as a prepared body. And the reality is we think about the body part. We think about the things that we need on our shelves. We think about the things that we should do to be ready in terms of preparing the world around us or getting our family ready with an emergency plan, those kinds of things. But we don't think about how to become the kind of prepper that can overcome any obstacle, developing that kind of psychology. And that's where we've got to move to. And so in the Reddit threads, this is where we always go on this channel. This is the quote, right? Survival situation. It's 90% psychological, 10% physical. We analyze this thread. There were some top things that people do to cope. This is what we do as humans, right? We begin to dissociate from the situation. We isolate, we sleep, we consume media. The problem is, and you could go down the list, all these things on here, none of these things can actually help with the situation. The situation is still the same. And so as you look at this same thread, there are some things that people begin to do to practically tackle the psychological toughness of a survival situation. From mental toughness training, you can actually grow in your mental toughness. Stress inoculation, you can actually begin to reduce your stress or reduce your response to stress. Emotional intelligence, growing in that, understanding psychological limits, and then of course educational resources. So in this video, that's where we're going. We're going to talk about the prepping mindset. What is the prepping mindset and how do you begin to develop that? I'm going to share keys with you here in just a few minutes on how you can actually begin to develop this. But what is the prepping mindset? Well, in short, number one, it's readiness for unseen events. And this is what we think of usually when we think of prepping. It's being prepared. It's having, thinking ahead. And so if you're a prepper, you kind of naturally have this already. You are in some ways anticipating what could come. And that's why you're a prepper, because you're anticipating, hey, this could come. But just anticipating it can come doesn't mean that you're ready fully for those unseen events, not just in terms of what's on your shelf, but you've got to begin to think through. And so one way that you can do that is by beginning to imagine. Just use your imagination. Think through what could happen in your city. What would you do? And what you begin to think in those moments actually begins to help your mind to become ready. So that's number one. Adaptability is a huge key to number two in the prepping mindset. So we've not only got to be ready for that given situation, having used our imagination, having begun to think through some of what could be, so then we've got to begin to learn adaptability. And that's where if a one plan fails, you've got to be able to have second and third options and know what are some committed checkpoints in your plan or some fail-safe triggers, so that for example, like if something happens and your kids are in school, do you have a secondary meeting point where you can adapt to that situation that may come, and your kids are going to know, you're going to know, my wife's going to know, we're going to go meet at this place instead of our original meeting place. Adaptability means to be able to think through the situation ahead of time and then be able to adjust in the moment. The other thing you've got to have for the prepper mindset is resilience. So things are going to come at you, right? And things are going to change. Things are going to change in that situation. And so it's being ready, it's being adaptable, but then resilience means you've got to grow to where you can take a hit or two or three and get back up and take a look at the situation, not be overwhelmed by it, but begin to analyze what do we need to do now? How, with the situation that's changed, with the environment that's changed, how do we continue to tackle this situation? So resilience is the other key piece. So, if you can see all of that, this reality of a prepper mindset is not just something that is for that one day unforeseen event, right? As that's what you see here on your screen. A prepping mindset is not just for, wow, that the crazy situation, the unexpected economic or the environmental challenge or something that could come at you, but it's actually about a daily mindset. So it's how you approach those daily challenges, and especially for those of us in America, that can be hard because our environment really is about being comfortable. But we've got to actually begin to push ourselves out of that comfortability and into this place of learning how to see challenges, learning how to see the everyday moments as an opportunity to grow in a prepper mindset. And if we'll do that, we can actually be the person who, when that unforeseen event happens, we are ready. So let's talk about how do you develop that prepper mindset. 3 keys to building the prepper mindset that I promised I would share with you later in this video is number 1, we've got to learn how to have risk assessment and planning. And so we've got to learn how to develop a plan. So first of all, if you've never thought about how to develop a plan, like I was sharing earlier, so if something could come up for a given situation, whether that is that could be a weather event, that could be an economic event, that could be a government, something happening with our government or martial law, you've got to be ready with a plan. But then you've got to be able to assess the risk. So what level risk is this situation, and how does that change my plan? So we've got to learn risk assessment and learn planning. And then there's the ability to be able to be flexible in that planning so that we can adapt to the changing situation. So you've got to learn what needs to stay consistent and what could change in the given situation. So that's number 1 that you've got to learn how to do. That's the key to building it. Number 2 is increase your situational awareness. So increase your situational awareness. Most of us are moving through our day, moving through our week without any awareness of the challenges that are happening around us, or we're just on autopilot is another way to say it. And so becoming situationally aware, beginning to identify what is happening in my environment and how does that then change my risk level and how should I respond to that, that is key to developing the kind of psychology, the kind of mindset that can adapt. And that's something you can actually grow in everyday life. So you don't have to wait until you get into a crazy situation. You can actually begin to become present in the moment. So that's one way that I'll think about it. As I'm walking down the street, my mind can get into a bunch of different places, right? So I've got to make the choice to interrupt that flow. First of all, become aware that I'm in my mind, I'm caught on all these different things. Pause and come into the moment right now and become aware of what's around me. So I'm beginning to look around, like physically with my eyes, look around and take in what's happening around me. And so a crazy event can bring us into the moment, right? In a second. If a car accident happens in front of us, boom, we're in that moment, right? And our body begins to respond to that. We can actually train ourselves to see that in our day-to-day if we interrupt those thoughts and begin to grow situational awareness, and that will help us to become more and more adaptable and resilient. So the last thing would be practicing stress management and emotional resilience. What was shared there in the Reddit threads, we have all these different ways that we begin to cope with challenges. Everybody's going to cope with their challenges, right? And you can either cope in a healthy way, a productive way that helps you to move forward, or you cope in an unhealthy way, whether you're isolating, whether you start to drink alcohol or dive into some sort of coping mechanism, right? That may or may not be helpful, and for sure, it's not going to change the situation. The situation is still there. So we've got to begin to practice stress management and emotional resilience. And there's a lot of different ways that we can do that, but there are some really practical ways. Like, for example, one of the things that I do is I take cold showers. So in the morning, I'll take after I go running. So that's another thing is I'm in training through running, and that physical activity and having consistent physical activity, it actually begins to help you to manage your stress. And then when I come back from that, I'm taking a hot shower, but then I move immediately into at least a 30-second cold shower, and I'm trying to build that up to longer and longer and longer time. And what that cold shower does, if you've ever seen ice baths or cold showers, what they do for us is, in and of themselves, they don't actually change anything for us, but they begin to develop a psychology that we can handle stress more and more in our mindset, in our physical brain, and then in our psychological response in our body. And so as we begin to practice this kind of stress management, as we begin to practice these kinds of things, what it actually helps us to do is to grow into becoming more resilient. So I use that word resilient. It's being able to take the challenges in front of us and be able to tackle them better and better. So in doing all of this, there's one more thing that I have to share with you in this video. You want to stick around for this, and that is this reality that we've got to take action right now. What are the things that you can do right now to begin to take action on this? And so as you begin to hear some of this information, if you don't take action on this, you will have heard this and it won't have changed your resilience or your mindset level at all. So there's a couple of things, two things that you've got to have to be able to begin to take action on this. Number one is knowledge. And so I've begun to give you the entry point to knowledge on developing the prepper mindset in this video. You need the knowledge, but you don't need just a ton of knowledge to move into number two to take action on this, and that is skills. And skill development is very different than knowledge. Knowledge means that you've got the right right understanding, not mindset, the right understanding of the topic, but skill development means you've got to actually begin to do something with it. So you take one or two things that I'm sharing with you in this video, whether that's the cold showers, whether that's beginning to exercise or becoming situationally aware as you go. And as you take a step on that, that begins to develop the skills. And here's the other reality about developing a prepper mindset is it's a snowball effect. Once you start to do it, that begins to snowball and you begin to develop other skills. You become more aware and it's going to actually take on a momentum of its own. But you've got to start with one or two things and then it will begin to build from there. The other thing you need to think about, so those are the two main things that are going to help you to begin to build this kind of mindset right now with action. But the other thing you need is community and support. So you've got to find a like-minded network of people that are doing this same stuff. And as you get around them, we really do become like those that we spend our time around. So you've got to take some action, not only in your own life, but begin to get around others who are also taking action. And in doing so, that will begin to change your mindset and help you begin to become like those that are situationally aware, that are resilient, that are adaptable, that can begin to have that kind of prepper mindset, not just in the future, because here's where we got to land in this video. This mindset won't just pop up one day when you suddenly arrive in that situation. Like the car accident, you're going to be brought into the moment, but if you have not prepared and practiced and worked yourself into reducing your stress response, growing in your emotional resilience, growing in your situational awareness, it's not going to suddenly be there in that moment. So begin to take action now with one or two things and watch as that builds up the kind of situational awareness and prepper mindset that you will need. Now, if all of this is hitting you like brand new information, we have a helpful tool that will help you to begin to think through where are you at in your prepping process. So check out the link in the description below. We have an assessment test that will help you to identify where is my family at, how prepared are we, and what do we need to do next, most importantly. Check out that link. Subscribe to the video. We'd love to hear in the comments if there's something else that you would do in terms of developing a prepper mindset or something you feel like we left out or a resource you think we should have. Hit us up in the comments. We want to hear from you. We'll see you on the next video.